Today is Monday, October 21st, 2024, and this is the most current episode of Miles's monthly Monday memo. Hello out there in memo land, my memorandums. They've shut off my power today. They've shut off my water. The power is back on. The water is not. They're out to get me, the utilities. They're normally on my side, but they're not on my side. But nothing's going to stand between me and you. This is my time for you, whatever else may happen. And so I'm going to roll this 12-sided die and add one number to the result. And that's how much time I want to spend with you this week, this month, this memo. Here we go. Roll a 9, a little 10-minute window. So we're going to go until the counter counts up to 10. Well, this is great. This gives me enough time to share the number one thing I wanted to share with you. This is a how-to, a tutorial, in my capacity as game master, of course. My specialty, my sparkle zone, is when clients hire us to come and bring our intelligent, fun, new games to in-person meetings to make them more memorable and more meaningful. That's what I'm good at. You hire me, you hire my company, you get all the bells and whistles, you get all the fixins. But that said, my breadth and depth of knowledge about games is such that I'm able to share a lot of resources for things you can do yourself. You don't have to hire me for it. You can. It's good for business. But today I want to give as a gift to you, the listener of the memo, how to. And this is how to play Rose MacBeth. Everything you need to play the popular Halloween game. Now, in case there's a few of you who don't know, Rose MacBeth is an original Wise Guys Events game. It's been showcased at our Haunt installation, the Heritage Scare, which we haven't done since the teens. So I guess you could call it a retro game, a throwback. We played it at the Indicate Festival, where the game was awarded the Developer's Choice Award. That was a real feather in our cap. But it's best known as part of our suite of games, the Heritage Scare, an evening of competitive murder. And Rose MacBeth is the sort of crown jewel game. It's the last game in the sequence. It's a game for 2 teams of 2. And it's a blindfolded knife fight in the graveyard. So here's everything you need to stage that. First of all, you need a graveyard. And you need 2 teams of 2. And then you'll need somebody to be the referee. And then you need 4 blindfolds, because without those, you don't have a blindfolded knife fight in the graveyard. And you need 4 knives. They can be big, they can be small, they can be sharp, they can be very, very sharp. They can be extremely sharp. Any of those is fine. And then you need 4 roses. The roses can be real. They could be artificial. You could use rolled up newspaper instead. Some people like to use roses that have been cursed by a witch. That's also okay. So those are the materials that you need. And you go out into the graveyard and you set up your playing area. And you can think of the playing area as a very large square. I'm not great with dimensions, but if the sides of the square are 20 feet across or 60 feet across, any of those would be good. So it's sort of an imaginary square you've drawn in the courtyard. It's not important that the players can see the square because they're going to have blindfolds on. And then the players will be positioned at the 4 corners of the square. So the person who can see, you just march one of the players over here, and then you march another player over there. They don't have to have their blindfolds on at this time, but that's how you get positioned. Now, the object of the game is to either touch your teammate with a rose or stab both of your opponents with the knife. Now, when I say stab them with a knife, I don't want anybody to actually get stabby. Let me be super clear as I see my lawyers are frantically gesticulating and trying to get my attention. And they're making a gesture where the tips of the fingers are moving back and forth in a line across where the neck is, which is a gesture that you can either interpret as like stop, don't, cut it out, don't say what you're saying, or cut throats rampantly and unapologetically. I think it's the former, but I didn't go to law school. The knives, I suppose, could be play knives. There have been times, as I think back on it, that we played the game with knives that were props. So you only need to touch the opponent with a knife. A stabbing is not necessary. What happens if you touch your teammate with a knife? They die, of course. What happens if you touch your enemy with a rose? Nothing. It has no game effect. You've just shared a nice moment, a little intimacy in a dark time, a very dark time, because this game is best played at night. Now, you don't have to play it at an actual graveyard. You can play it anywhere. You could play it in a freeway, under a freeway overpass, with the only light coming from a mattress that's on fire. And as long as you're there, you can play another one of our really fun, really dangerous games, which is called Mattress Side. I'll describe that one in a maybe future memo or a bonus memo. So, okay, Rose MacBeth, all right, you see you've got your one-sided player, and honestly, two is better. If you've got two referees on site, it goes a little smoother. That's how we usually like to do it, but you can do it with one if you're experienced or you, aren't afraid. You're not a chicken. You're not in mortal terror. So on go, the teams can enter the graveyard and they can move freely. They have to have their blindfolds on. They put those on before you say go. And they move into the graveyard. And when a player is touched by a knife, the referee says freeze, and everybody has to stop right where they are. And the referee will go touch the player who is stabbed with a knife and remove that person from play. So if you are removed from play because you get stabbed by a knife, now your opponent can no longer win with a rose. Sorry, your teammate can no longer win with a rose. Your teammate has to win by going on a murderous rampage and stabbing everybody left in the game with a knife. And when I say stab, I mean more like take a stab at it. I really will be clear. I'm not advocating that anybody stab anybody. In fact, let me explicitly say, don't get stabby. No murdering, no attacking with knives, not even if they're shiny and sharp, even under those tantalizing circumstances. When a round ends, either by rose, where a teammate touches their partner with a rose, or by stabbing, where one whole team is dead by knife, when that happens, we reset and we play a second round and then a third one. The first team to win 2 rounds wins the game. And that's the game of Rose MacBeth. Like I said, we've played it in festivals in Los Angeles and New York. I remember playing this game under a working railroad. We were in a part of Brooklyn that's called Dumbo, Down Under Manhattan Bridge Overpass. That's what Dumbo stands for. People come from out of town and they don't understand why this part of Brooklyn is called Dumbo. And we're just tourists who act like we know. And then we feel like we're the Dumbo. But I ran this game all afternoon and into the night with trains rattling overhead. And I lost my voice explaining the rules again and again. If you touch your opponent with a rose, nothing happens. You've just shared a nice moment. And I had to justify why there was a train in the graveyard we were playing in and why the graveyard didn't have real headstones. It just had like jugs of water that I'd placed there. And I'll always remember that one of the groups who played was Bridesmaid and her bridal party. No, excuse me, the bride and the bridal party. You know, this part's true. I've said a lot of silly things in this memo, but the bride played with her maid of honor. And despite having a blindfold on, and despite the knife being a prop toy, she went right over to her maid of honor and hacked and stabbed away. And they were laughing when they took off their blindfolds. It was just that the bride was competitive. And the bridesmaid said I wouldn't have expected anything else from her. Fond memories. Happy Halloween, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to Miles's Monthly Monday Memo. I'll see you again on the next Monday, whenever that may be.